Okay, we're starting out with the Victormaxx. This obviously you would wear. Sorry, I haven't. Okay, let's start over again. Okay, we're gonna start by looking at the Victormaxx. You can see you wear this. You look your eyes in there, and it was used with either the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo, and it got very mixed reviews. A lot of people hated it because they were expecting something 3D, but what do you expect on the Sega Genesis? Personally, I loved it because you could play a game like Road Rash, and if you looked to the left, you would actually steer toward the left of the screen in a way that was normally not possible. So I liked the Victormaxx. Here's the TurboGrafx 16. This case comes out, this back case right here. I'm not gonna, because I'm running out of time tonight. That's the TurboGrafx 16. Very, very nice looking system. It was controversial because NEC had like about 5 different systems in Japan, and they released the weakest one here. So they drew criticism for that. And everything was played with a Hue card. The games were fabulous. I think that was actually the best year ever for video games. 1989, when the TurboGrafx was released, they had like a dozen all-time greats. It was the best Christmas ever. Here's the color game. This might be Australian. It's a Pong system. Here's the Rotron computer system. I believe this is foreign. Here's how it looks next to the TurboGrafx 16. Rotron Home Entertainment Center. Just as was so typical of that day, the systems, they spent a lot of time getting the right look and the right feel. So it was a system that you could be proud of, even though its capabilities were limited. Here's a brand new Sega Mark III. This essentially is the Sega Genesis, this is essentially the Sega Master System, I believe, in South America. What do you think? You think it was better looking than the Sega Master System? I do. Here's the famous system, the Nintendo Super Famicom. Many people have called this the greatest video game system of all time. Essentially, this of course is the Super Nintendo from Japan. But there were a lot of great games released on this system that did not make it to America. That's why many people call this the greatest system ever. System is very heavy. And the cartridges were a little different. Okay. Now here's in contrast, here's a game that mimics it. This looks like a Super Famicom. A little smaller, plays Nintendo games. And this is totally lightweight. Just a stark contrast to the other system. Here's a good comparison right here. You can see that this is thinner. Here's Intellivision, the original Intellivision right here. This showed you just how wonderful a game system could be back then. I mean, people who looked at this thought that they were, witnessing a supercomputer. The system is really heavy, really nice. Back then, having this was the equivalent to having a nice piece of furniture in your house, Even though I believe the games were only 4K, which is just a few pages of information. Here's the Bally Arcade. The system looks a lot different right now. It also has a shell on it, and it looks like a completely different system, but I'm showing you the unshelled one. Now here's the Atari 5200. Okay, there it is right there. Now, it doesn't look really impressive until you look at it next to the Atari 7800. The back one is the Atari 7800. Look at the amazing difference in size. The 5200 was a huge system. It's like almost as big as my arm up to my elbow. It's just a huge system, and the camera can't really show that. Here's a comparison with the Super Nintendo. This one has the Super 8 on it, which plays Nintendo and Super Nintendo. This one doesn't. So you can see the difference. And that's what the Super 8 looks like without a system. Here's one of the all-time favorites, the Arcadia 2001 from Emerson. This one always draws a huge crowd in auctions. People love this system right here. It looks like a fancy Intellivision. And here's how this would look next to the Atari 7800. It's not really doing a great job of doing a comparison here. Something like that. That's the Arcadia 2001 from Emerson. Now, here's how the Atari 7800 looks next to Intellivision. You can see Intellivision is a lot bigger. So as I pointed out, the Arcadia 2001 looks like a mini Intellivision. Really nice, beautiful system. Oops. Okay. This is made from APF. They made some Pong systems. This is the MP1000. A really neat looking game system that took cartridges. It's a little bit bigger than the Arcadia 2001. Looks a little similar, but you know, the same high-tech type design. The games themselves were weak, but it made it look high-tech. Here's a brand new Atari XE home computer. This is the one that they were selling at the stores in the mid to late I think it was like 1988, 1989. So they were pretty much trying to get a market off of Nintendo after the 7800 failed to do so. Here's Socrates, made by VTech. VTech made a lot of great computer systems for kids. And this is another example of a system where you could have hours of fun with this. You could do a lot with this. You could do a lot with this computer. And of course this comes off. Sayonara.